Michigan could be in heaps of trouble, but we have covered that the last 2 days. So we're going to move on from that, and we're going to start talking about what we've seen in terms of how it can work, because that's the next important step. Because I don't see any indication that Michigan's going to move on from Davis Warren. And honestly, he's grading out a lot better than you might think. We're going to go to the PFF grades. We're going to talk about some of the things that they are doing well and just what they absolutely must do against Arkansas State for us to see that there is, in fact, progress. We're going to get to that here on the next episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. We have a puppy joining us. She rarely joins us anymore. And I know people were saying yesterday that they would vote for Zuri. I don't know that I would trust that unless you want if you want to vote for bunny chasing, because that's what she's all about, is she wants to chase the bunny. Anyhow, let's talk about Davis Warren, and because yes, I feel like things should be a lot better with the pass. I mean, like, we've gone over kind of the dereliction of duty of Michigan going out and getting more high-profile quarterbacks, wide receivers, and all of that, because that would have stemmed a lot of the issues. I mean, obviously, things would have been a heck of a lot better if they were able to get a Cam Ward, but you're not going to outbid Miami, right? You're just not going to. And but ultimately, when I look at the grades, and I'm looking at the overall grades, now this is PFF. I want to remind you, their whole thing is to go on a play-by-play basis and give you an overall grade. So this is not predictive. This is reactionary. How did they do? Out of the 18 starting quarterbacks in the Big Ten, Davis Warren is number 7. Keeping in mind, Purdue's Hudson Card is number 1. Miller Moss, who Michigan's going to see in a week and a half, is number 2. Billy Edwards is number 3 from Maryland. Curtis Rourke, Michigan will see midseason from Indiana. Luke Altmaier, Michigan will also see midseason. Actually, Indiana is November 9th. That's my birthday. I'm very upset that I'm going to have to be in Bloomington. I digress. Will Rogers is number 6, and Davis Warren is number 7. That means that he graded out above Minnesota's Max Brosmer, Oregon's Dylan Gabriel, Dylan Raiola, Tyler Van Dyke at Wisconsin, formerly of Miami, Will Howard at Ohio State, Ethan Kaliak-Manis, Cade McNamara, Drew Aller, Aiden Childs, Mike Wright from Northwestern, and Ethan Garbers from UCLA, who has only played one game. Same thing with Hudson Card, so keep that in mind. But there's multiple different things that we can look at here, obviously. When it comes to yards, overall yards, Davis Warren is only ahead of Hudson Card and Ethan Garbers, who have had one game each. He's got 322 yards. Just behind by 12 yards, Mike Wright. He's only 28 yards behind Cade McNamara. So there's a lot that could be a lot better. Yards per attempt, he's second to last, 5.6. He's ahead of Mike Wright from Northwestern. He's slightly behind Cade McNamara, who's got 5.8. He's not too far behind Tyler Van Dyke at 6.2. And honestly, only a couple yards behind Dylan Raiola and some of these others. This is clearly not a downfield offense. He's got the second most amount of turnovers. I said that completely backwards. Aiden Childs from Michigan State is the only one that has more, with 5 interceptions to 3 touchdowns. Davis Warren is also underwater, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And then you look at Cade McNamara, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But when it comes to offensive and passing grades, we're going off of passing grades here. Like I said, he is number 7 out of everyone in the conference. He has a grade of 80.3. That is in the firm green by PFF. So he's not necessarily completely messing up here. There's a lot of things that need to work out that aren't as of yet. Obviously, you want to see more downfield passing. This is where we're going to be able to get into some other elements here. When it comes to some certain elements, let's talk about big time throws. He's actually, according to them, big time throws. Let me just see. The definition is a pass with excellent ball location and timing, generally thrown further down the field and or into a tighter window. As far as big time throws are concerned, he's got 3. That is tied for 4th, and there's a large group of guys who are in 4th. Among them, Will Rogers, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Cade McNamara. As far as the percentage, big time throw percentage, that's the rate, the number of attempts that are big time throws, and he's middling. So he's at a 5.1 as far as that's concerned. That is just slightly behind Will Howard, Will Rogers. It's ahead of Drew Aller. It's ahead of Ethan Kaliak-Manis. It's ahead of a lot of these other guys who have thrown for a lot more and all of that. Turnover-worthy plays. Obviously, that's not a good stat to be high in. That's a pass that has a high percentage of a chance to be intercepted or a poor job of taking care of the football. He's tied for 7 out of the 18, but that's the majority of them. He's got 1 that they consider a turnover-worthy play, which is kind of weird because I guess that tells you that PFF is looking at this as a situation where, hey, the ball was tipped, the guy ran a wrong route and all of that. I mean, he's got the 3 turnovers, so to me, it's kind of like whatever. But nonetheless, he's, according to them, ranking kind of okay. As far as the turnover-worthy play percentage, the number of attempts that are turnover-worthy, he is at 11. So, again, in the lower end of the spectrum, which is where you want to be. Let's look at the next category. I feel like there's just so much that we can take away from this. I don't know what that is. It's not in their key. Oh, there we go. Average depth of target. That's one that we really want to focus on here. It feels like Michigan is dinking and dunking, and that's not great. I think that's gone up a little bit here because it's actually, he's, again, in the middle of the pack. He's 8.2. Will Howard is at an 8.8. When you consider you've seen some of the long touchdowns they've had, that kind of shows you that they're still playing underneath. Aiden Childs is number 1, and Drew Aller is number 2. Those guys are really throwing downfield, and but middle of the pack, you would expect that to be a little bit less based off of what we've seen. As far as the adjusted completion percentage, that's the number, the percentage of aimed passes thrown on target, completions plus drops and aimed, and what have you. So this is, again, a middling number. His adjusted completion percentage is 74.5. His actual completion percentage is 63.8. So you're still kind of above that Mendoza line of 60%, but at the same time, you want to see some of these things get higher as we go through. As far as the drops on target passes dropped by the receivers, he is. Well, it's funny. I have a hard time finding this name that fast. He's at the top, near the top, I should say. Number 3, tied for number 3 with 4. So receivers are dropping the ball. They're not helping him out. The drop rate percentage is, again, he's number 4, 9.8. So there is certainly some things there that aren't helping. Batted passes, he has 1. The hit is thrown. The passer is hit by the defender as the pass is being thrown. He is number 2 with 1. And I think we can see what that one was. That was the amazing pass and catch that he had late in the Texas game. We're going to get over to the pressure stats here in a moment. Before we get to that, thrown away, passes intentionally thrown away, he's 10th, and he's only got 1. So we're going to get to the pressure, and then we're going to kind of say, what does all this mean? Can Davis Warren be a starting quarterback for Michigan, like a legitimate one? And I think that if you're just kind of getting to the cold hard stats, it starts to feel like, yeah, maybe that is the case. Okay. I still feel like no one really fears him, and that's a problem, but we'll get to all of that. And we'll do that here in just a moment. Before we do, hey, Locked On Wolverines fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do, and that's Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach, lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of Michigan? From recruiting players to hiring coaches, In overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Here's what I really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the games. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but it will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Wolverines fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB in all caps inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. You got to take advantage of that because it is going to help your team get off to a strong start. So download the game at ultimate-cfb.com, or you can look it up on the app stores. Again, that promo code in all caps is LOCKEDONCFB. Ultimate College Football HC, begin your coaching legacy today. All right, we're going to move on here in just a moment, but before we do, there's so many amazing live events. I haven't done this yet. I'm going to definitely use Gametime to do so because I know Sarah and I think we're going to bring both of our moms. Maverick City Music is coming to Little Caesars Arena in November. We're like, yes, have to go to that. Absolutely have to go to that. The best way to get tickets for that is through Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's so many amazing things that you can do. The super deal is just another tier of deals that you just don't want to miss. So make sure that you check that out. But like I talked about the Gametime Picks, the curation makes it easier to save more on sports, comedy, theater, everything under the sun, anything that you want to go to. And with their all-in pricing, you can see that as long as you turn on that feature, exactly what you're spending. No kind of sticker shock once you get into the checkout line. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. I was going to say code and account at the same time. Use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off of that first purchase. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. You know, in some ways, it would have been a lot easier if I just wrote down all of these things. I underestimated how long it was going to take this tired mind of mine to look through and see what, just to be able to find Davis Warren's name on the fly under the pressure of being recorded at the same time. How quick is your recognition of these shapes and colors? Not good, turns out. Anyway, pressure stats. We've got a few more here. Just advanced analytics to get to. I mean, we could go through the whole team. I just think it's important to kind of the quarterback is, you're going to go as far as your quarterback. So far, the eye test isn't really there, but the stats kind of, in a way, are. I mean, not the yardage. Obviously, Michigan wants to run the ball. You wouldn't look at Davis Warren and sit there and say, 322 yards in 2 games, that's bad, because you just kind of assume, well, Michigan probably ran for 250 yards a game. That has not been the case. 80 yards last week, 150 the week before. They got to figure some stuff out. And that means the quarterback's going to have to be a little bit more dynamic than what we've seen. All right, so now we are to the DPR, which is total pressures of the passer of any kind generated by the defense. This is where Michigan is not in a good spot, and this is an indictment on the offensive line, because we thought this was going to be a line that was going to be very good. It has been atrocious. This is so far has been the worst line through 2 games than what we've seen in the last 10 years, which is saying something, because there were some not good lines in 2017. 2015 was slightly a work in progress. They kind of got some things going, but it still was not an incredible line. But you're accustomed to seeing some of these guys really work out. For all of the hype that we've heard of literally all 5, there's been really one that's been good, and that's Miles Hinton. Everyone else, take a knee, take a lap. Something like that. I don't know. They just need to figure it out. But Davis Warren has been pressured 21 times. That's the 3rd most in the Big Ten. Dylan Gabriel is ahead of him at number 2, and Aiden Childs is number 1 with 27. If you watched any bit of that Michigan State FAU game, it was like, ooh, they are going to be in for a rough year. And thus far, it's Michigan being like, yeah, you might be too. Conversely, Will Howard, again, they played 2 MAC teams, so it is what it is, but Michigan played Texas. They've had the hardest game so far in the regular season of any Big Ten team. Wisconsin will at least have Alabama this week. But Will Howard has only had 9 defensive pressures. As far as sacks are concerned, which obviously is, it's a stat that you kind of measure everybody on. He's middling. He's been sacked twice. Could be worse. Dylan Gabriel, Max Brosmer, each have been sacked 7 times through 2 games. And then you look at some others who haven't been sacked at all. Will Howard, who we're just going to keep an eye on, has not been sacked yet. The P2S percentage of pressures turned into sacks. That number for Davis Warren, he is middling. He's number 11 out of 18, 9.5. Could be a heck of a lot worse. But again, you look at Will Howard, that's a 0. Some of these other guys, that's a 0. So they need to figure some of these things out. Average time to throw on dropbacks. The average amount of time. Michigan's not, again, he's kind of like on the lower end here. It's not the worst. 2.58 seconds per. That's better than Dylan Gabriel. It's better than Miller Moss. That's better than, and keep in mind, at least Miller Moss played LSU. You can say what you want about LSU, but they got athletes. That's better than Will Rogers and some of these other guys. And he's not that far behind Will Howard, who's had 2.62. So again, that number could be better. It could be worse. Drew Aller's had the most time so far. And weirdly, Aiden Childs, 3.11. He's at number 3. So it's just kind of funny to see that number there. Scrambles, undesigned runs by the quarterback. Davis Warren is middling. Again, he's had 2. You look, Will Howard, Will Rogers have each had 1. Miller Moss is the only one who hasn't had any scrambles as of yet. First downs, this is where things are really dicey. This is where things are really bad in particular. Dylan Gabriel leads everyone with 32, Miller Moss with 29, Will Howard with 25. They've got a lot of weapons, but Davis Warren is 1 spot behind Aiden Childs. Aiden Childs and Dylan Raiola are tied for 14. Davis Warren is 16th. Out of those who have played 2 games, he is last with 18 first downs. As far as the NFL passer rating, another place where he's bad, obviously the interceptions factor into that. He's got a passer rating of 68.3. He's ahead of Aiden Childs. That's not a great place to be. But when you look at Will Howard at 120.9, that's pretty good. Hudson Card only through 1 game has a perfect rating of 151.8. Will Rogers, Drew Aller, all these guys are ahead of him. So there is that. And then there's the penalties. That one doesn't really matter. He's at 0 along with a lot of other guys. So that's going through the grades. Davis Warren is offensively doing a little bit worse as total offense than he is in the passer rating, but 79.2 offensive. Passer rating is a 80.3. As far as the run grade, that's actually low at a 53.9. The fumble grade is actually okay. He's number 6 out of the 18 at 71. So there's a lot you can kind of take away. Completion percentage, he is in the upper half of the bottom. Yards, he's pretty low. Yards per attempt, he's middling, essentially. And, obviously you want to see more touchdowns. You want to see less interceptions, all of that kind of stuff. But I think the other important part to kind of look at is how much have they asked him to drop back. It is middling. He's number 8 out of the 18 with 62. And yet it could be worse. Max Brosmer is 50 of 62. Has had as far as attempts. So I was reading that wrong. I'm going to scratch that idea. So at least it feels like you look at these numbers and you say, hey, could be right there. Maybe. It's not like super, super far off. So let's continue talking about that. What needs to happen this week against Arkansas State? What does Arkansas State present? What have they allowed? And what do we need to see from Davis Warren in this one? We're going to get to that here in just a moment. Before we do, you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, but we've got a little something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So 11 more days. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment you can cancel at any time. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's Double Your Winnings for all of Sunday. That's the 15th of September. Pre-game moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting on Thursday, the 12th. That's tomorrow. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. Just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment. Before we do, I've got to tell you a little bit about the little thing behind me if you're watching on video, and that is my team ticker. You can see this cool LED display with a big block M. It's been displaying all kinds of cool info. Right now, it's the Big Ten standings. It just cycles through a bunch of really cool stuff. So Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign for college sports fans. It's a 1.5 by 2 foot wall sign featuring the Block M logo. It has a cool retro-looking LED display. The display is updated daily with fresh content such as the countdown to the next game, schedules, standings, which is literally up right now. That's probably changed out. It says now it's given schedules for the teams. Ohio State bye week, UTSA at Texas. It's going through the actual AP rankings there. Stats, news, all kinds of stuff. It's super fun and a great way to stay connected with the Michigan Wolverines. And it's a combination of design and function that gives you an entertaining, creative way to display your team pride while providing a unique connection to your favorite team. But whether it's football, men's or women's basketball, baseball, soccer, or softball, Team Ticker has you covered. Never miss a game as the high-tech retro display provides a countdown to the next big game as well as daily updates of the latest team news, stats, schedules, standings, and much more. And you can use the app with the content control. And it allows you to control the sports you see. And you have the remote control function, which allows you to jump directly to any section of the content. Now, each sign is officially licensed, meeting high-quality standards, and is assembled by hand in the United States. Team Ticker is the ultimate addition to your Michigan Wolverines sports collection. Once you hang it on your wall, it's going to be the talk of all of your fellow Michigan fans. I can say confidently a lot of you have been really interested in it since I've hung it up on my wall. So if you're looking at that one eye-catching item that you can showcase as like the team pride or gift for your special Wolverines fan in your family or close friends, go to teamticker.com and pick up your Team Ticker today. Like I said, Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign. Go to teamticker.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you can receive $50 off of your Team Ticker purchase. All right, let us continue as we look ahead to what we have seen from Arkansas State and what we need to see from Davis Warren this week, assuming he remains the starter. I've received no indication that that is changing. So Arkansas State is allowed an average of 198 yards. I was able to do that math in my head because it's 197 and 199 in 2 games. They've allowed an average of 61 plays. Again, easy math. Each team that they have faced has had 61 plays. Each team has had a pretty good job of running the ball and a mediocre time passing the ball, because I don't think 200 yards passing, that used to be like what Michigan quarterbacks would have on like a mediocre day. And obviously like 250 was like, hey, they had a really good day. 300 is like they had an exceptional day. I don't expect him to come anywhere close to 300. If they do, then we're going to just completely shatter all of our expectations and change everything and all of that. But I would like to see both elements of the Michigan offense get to work, right? I'd like to see 500 yards of offense in this game. Now, neither team that has played Arkansas State has done so. Central Arkansas had 432 yards. Tulsa's had 362. So neither team has shown that, but you look at this and you say, well, you hope that you're better. Even like if you're kind of decrying like the coaching staff at this point, it's like, well, you would think theoretically Michigan's coaches are better than what Tulsa has. I mean, obviously, Kevin Wilson's been very good. He's been at Ohio State. He was the head coach of Indiana. He's been around. But you would think, okay, this is probably going to be better. So you want to see Davis Warren get going and at least kind of continue the trajectory. I'd love to see like 70 plus yard percentage in terms of like the completions. I'd like to see no turnovers. That needs to be the big focal point, right? Because that was kind of the thing was, well, he takes care of the football. Like those are, whoever is going to be the quarterback is going to take care of the football. Thus far, that has not been the case. PFF, along with the coaching staff, can kind of tell you, okay, well, maybe it's not all on him. Obviously, there's some other elements that have led to that. But you want to see some of those things connect. It just needs to be more of a dynamic attack. It needs to have the run game needs to work out a lot better than it has. The pass game, obviously, you want to see some of these receivers step up and make plays. This is the moment, I think, that I want to see a Kendrick Bell go downfield, right? We haven't really seen him go real downfield. I want to see those intermediate passes to Samaj. I mean, even some downfield passes to Samaj. Tyler Morris needs to get going. I want to see some guys outside of Colston Loveland. I still want to see Colston Loveland have the type of game that he is capable of, but you really more so, because Colston Loveland can do what he can do. You want to try to work in some of these other guys. You want to get Samaj comfortable in whatever role he's got. You want to get Kendrick Bell going. You want to get Peyton O'Leary's going to be a starter. Like, we need to see Peyton O'Leary doing some stuff. Okay. So let's get that going. All right. And it's going to be incumbent on Davis Warren. You would expect the more that he gets to just kind of go out there, especially if the Michigan defense, let's just say hypothetically, what we saw on Saturday is more emblematic of what this defense is capable of. I don't necessarily fully buy that, as troubling as it was, but that would explain why the offense was able to get the better of the defense, but he just went up against a much better defense in Texas, right? So, which total defense, Texas is still only 29th in the country. I don't want to tell you where Michigan is. It's probably not a great number. Oh, unfortunately, it's 70th in the country. Not used to even after 2 games seeing them there. So, I mean, at least there's a lot that can be worked on and all of that. So we just need to see the passing game be a lot more effective. You look and you say 208 yards against Texas or whatever it was, great. But, the turnover is not great. Late in the game, not great. You hope that when they see Central Arkansas there, it's just like, oh, okay, now this is a lot easier. And that maybe you kind of go through everything and feel like it's generally a lot easier than what we've seen. USC has their defense improved. Statistically, it's not different than Michigan, really. It's 65th in the country. So as far as yards per play, that's probably a better place to start. I don't want to tell you where Ohio State is there, by the way. But some of these teams, let's just look real quick at the yards per play. That's the best way to look at it. Arkansas State is 115th, so you should be able to do well as far as that's concerned. USC is 79th in yards per play. Michigan is 70th. They are just consistently 70th across the board. So get your defense going. Obviously, play complementary football. Just achieve on the ground and through the air. Look coherent, look cohesive, and they've got a shot to do some things. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, no Trente tomorrow, so we'll figure something out. We're not going to do a mailbag this week, but next week we will for the USC game. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.